Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fuck It, We'll Do It Live. Welcome to episode 5. Already into the 5th episode.
Oh, yeah.
And
I have plans. I have plans, let me tell you.
And shit has not hit the fan. And we've got listeners now. So before we dive right in, I just want to say this right away. So anybody, we might have multiple listeners now.
Ooh, more than one.
So first and foremost, our email is always.doing.it.live@gmail.com. And we are on the socials. I believe it's Instagram and Facebook.
We have an Instagram. I don't think we have a Facebook.
Okay, so we do have an Instagram. I know you've been.
We may be
Zach,
able to piggyback that off of
you being
off of
Zach
Instagram.
has been posting on
Who
it.
else would I be?
Yeah, I should really jump on there and make posts so people know I'm alive too. Other than the excessive talking I do on opposite.
I was going to
of you.
say you're talking, so they know you're alive.
Yeah, that's good.
They just don't know that you're not captive in my basement.
You might be captive in mine though, seeing as how that's where we're doing this.
Yeah, I feel like if I was captive, I wouldn't be allowed to drink beer.
Would you know? Or is it like that Shutter Island level
fair.
shit? Which I believe came out around the time the album we're talking about today is, by the way.
Shutter Island, is that the one with the cameras all over? And
No, he was on it was Leo, right? And he's like a detective and he's trying to find an escaped
I remember that. Yes,
mental
yes,
patient.
yes.
And he's the escaped mental patient.
Yes.
Something
Spoiler
to that
alert.
effect, yeah. Yeah, sorry. You should know by now. Spoilers are all over the place.
All over
This
the place.
isn't a movie podcast, so I don't have any apologies for you fucks.
Yeah. Oh.
Do you want me to ruin Sons of Anarchy too?
Oh, man. We would gain listeners for sure.
Oh, definitely.
What was the one? There was a horror movie, and towards the end of it.
The Human Centipede.
Spoiler. No. Spoiler alert. Like towards the end of it, it turned out to be like this giant bet in like this corporation, and there's cameras watching things pan out, and like I can't remember if they were betting on survivors or things of that nature.
Well, there was a book or a short story. It was probably a book, but it was adapted to short stories for middle schoolers to read too. Because I remember reading it was The Most Dangerous Game. It was rich people having poor people hunt each other basically on an island.
Have you ever seen the movie The Pest?
No.
Okay.
But
anyway,
The Purge is, I guess, in a way like that. I don't think that's the one you're thinking of, but
The
Purge is like a government that lets everybody kill each other, overnight. One night.
people like
and that's
lock their
no
doors and
spoilers.
yeah.
That's just
no.
a
That's
fact.
that's just what it is. That's the movie.
I remember I was on a podcast about movies a couple times as a guest commentator based on my experience in multimedia. It was more of like an approach of talking about films in that regard, and that host had mentioned. He's like, hey, if a movie has come out XYZ amount of time ago, like spoilers don't count anymore. There's like a statute of spoiler limitations.
Jesus.
And I think the same applies here. So
I could agree with that.
on that note, what are we talking about today, Zach? Because this is one that you've wanted to do since I think we've pitched to this podcast.
Yeah, this was a good one. Today.
I pledge allegiance.
No.
To the. It's kind of like the.
Yeah, I
the
guess
theme from
that applies. We're covering Green Day's "Bullet in a Bible."
Ooh.
Yeah.
So at the time of this recording, I will say, Billie Joe Armstrong has said some pretty brash things about America.
Yeah, it's very
And his citizenship.
very serendipitous that had transpired, because we've been talking about doing this. We had planned this next episode since we got done with the last episode, which I think was 2 weeks ago.
Yep. Yeah, a couple weeks ago. Yep.
And it just so happens, like the day before or the day of recording this, Billie Joe comes out and denounces his American citizenship. In fact, I read an article on Yahoo. That's what it was. Yoo-hoo. I was going to say Yoo-hoo.
On the back of my Yoo-hoo bottle.
Yoo-hoo bottle. Because they're headlining the Mega Hellfest tour, right?
Or was it Hella Mega?
Hella Mega?
It was. I don't know
Something
if that's still going
with
on.
Weezer and what have you. Yeah, it's still going on.
Okay.
He got out on stage and told England that they're going to be seeing much more of them and hearing much more about basically shit all over America, and said some things.
Sure. Okay.
He even came out on stage draped in a Union Jack flag.
I didn't see that, but I just saw the headline. So I didn't put much mind into it, but I did find the irony in the fact that we decided to do this one the same week he makes headlines doing something pretty obnoxiously loud.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I won't get into any of the politics, but that heavily weighs into his commentary.
Oh, yeah.
And the overturn of Roe versus Wade and what have you.
Yeah, right.
Which goes...
Yeah, for those who are listening that, I mean, don't get all this... Yeah, like Roe versus Wade got overturned, and the lead singer of Green Day basically said, fuck America, is what we're looking at here in terms of that. But you can obviously, look into politics on your own, however you so would desire.
Yeah, but moving forward, so... got to give credit where credit is due, because about most of what I'm about to tell you, well, actually all of what I'm about to go through, was not information that I cultivated on my own. But again, to reference the ongoing of new music featuring Alan Cross podcast, does an episode on Green Day, a deep dive into the back history of Green Day. Right, this is pre-1994.
Yeah.
This is their upbringing. This is and some of those details. Because I think it's really important when it comes to live albums. The album itself is a staple in time, right?
Yeah.
It's a reflection of what was happening at the time.
Absolutely.
Just like the headlines today reflect what's going on today.
Yep.
And so I think it's important to be aware, and you don't have to understand, the situation completely, and maybe you don't even give a shit about the back history of Green Day, right?
Sure, yeah.
Maybe you even skip this episode because fuck Green Day. I don't know.
That might
I'm not the listener.
Not everyone, but I'm sure there's probably a good portion of listener that that would.
In fact, one of the comments made on the podcast, the album was a flop in their eyes.
Oh, right? I'm thinking like fluke, like it was a fluke that anybody gave a shit about it. You know what I mean? Like, this came out and it just happened to catch on, and that's a total fluke. Like that's what I'm thinking. Okay.
Right.
But really, it's just they thought it was garbage.
Yeah, they
album.
thought it was garbage,
really?
right?
Okay.
Because by that time, a good portion of their fans were like, "You sold out to the man, and fuck you guys."
Yeah,
right?
Sure, yeah.
So, I'm going to jump into that a little bit.
Please.
In their back history, to give a little bit of an overview before we jump into the album, because a lot of this leading up really plays into that moment in time that this album was recorded.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So all three guys were born in 1972.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. All three Green Day guys?
All three Green Day guys.
The original three.
Yep, the original three. Because
they
now
do bring other guys on stage.
Oh, they do.
A lot,
in fact, the live recording, I can't remember if it was
There's 5.
Boulevard of Broken Dreams, but Billie Joe is announcing everybody at the end of the album. Like, this is da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yep. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So all three guys were born in 1972.
Sure. Okay.
Right? Oakland, California. Billie Joe dropped out right before he would have graduated high school.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Interesting.
Mike Dirnt is the offspring of a heroin addict.
Really?
Yeah. Of the three guys, he really had it the roughest growing up, right? So
bassist Mike Dirnt. Right?
Yep, bassist Mike Dirnt, who also moonlights in stand-up comedy. He goes to comedy. Yeah, he and again, you can find out everything I'm telling you and more, right? There's things that I won't cover, and there's more Easter eggs and informational stuff and really good information in Alan Cross's episode on Green Day.
Okay, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, he even has snippets of their interview of what they used to be called. Where are you? Sweet Children. Their first name was.
Oh man.
Yeah, they were Sweet Children. Their first EP was in 1988.
Wow.
And then that only featured Mike Dirnt and Billie Joe.
Really?
Yeah, and then they split for a number of years.
Okay.
And they got back together in 1989 and then called themselves Green Day. When they split, Mike Dirnt played with a few other bands, and so did Billie Joe.
Yeah.
The only notable thing to mention, not to mention too deeply on, because it was a very short stint, but Billie Joe was, for a fraction of a second, a part of Rancid.
No kidding.
Yeah, he was a part of Rancid.
That seems weird.
Yeah.
But that seems weird knowing him now. Not like,
right.
Maybe when it was 1988 or 1989, and he was younger and maybe actually more punk, so to speak, I guess by the standards of what, the elitist punks would say is that's real punk or that's not real.
Right.
But I'm thinking of him today and thinking, oh, brother. Wow.
Yeah. So Billie Joe, his dad was a jazz drummer.
Okay.
Right? By the time he was 5, he was singing show tunes in like old folks' homes.
Billie Joe was.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. By the time he was 8, he was playing piano. He wanted to play guitar, but his
Sure.
dad was like, "No, your hands are too small." So like he took up playing piano, and by the time Billie Joe was 10, his dad died, and his mother had taken custody, obviously,
Yeah.
of I think there were 4 or 5 other kids.
Sure.
A stepfather came into the picture. Nobody liked him,
Yeah.
and that's kind of that history in the beginning.
So can I interject real quick?
Yeah.
This is fascinating. And actually, I love your research you did into this, and I like that we get the opportunity to do this first section of the podcast all the time, because this kind of plays into the, not like a culture of a band or the culture of punk music or the culture of Green Day in this case, but culture and music, period.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of, again, not to get too deeply into political stuff or like social justice stuff or anything like that, but I think a lot of what we don't get done a lot of times in this country is because we genuinely don't care about the culture of other people. And culture does not mean in that case race or sex or orientation or whatever. It means literally the uniqueness of your upbringing.
Right.
And I think that, not that we've only undercovered a little bit of Billie Joe here, but like, I think a lot of people, going back to like, oh, if you don't want to listen to this because fuck Green Day, it's like, I think a lot of people give a lot of flack towards boisterous frontmen, even someone like Billie Joe Armstrong, without, I don't think we really take time to appreciate the culture and the background of people that end up being public figures or anything, and understand why they are the way they are, or why they might have gone the way they've gone, or why they made the choices in the band the way they made the choices.
Man.
And I think that's why exploring this kind of stuff with live albums, especially, that we get the chance to look into these bands a little bit further, is important for music culture, because culture isn't what do you think it's not your nationality. It's like what made you into you.
Oh yeah,
and
there's
what
a
you
whole
end up
linchpin
being,
that I'm leading up to right before
the
album.
Yeah, so yeah, go ahead. I just had to point that out. I think that's, like, I'm not a Billie Joe Armstrong hater.
No.
But I know there are a lot of people who are, and it's interesting hearing this, like being told your hands are too small, you can't play guitar, play piano, learn all this shit. Then then the like kind of leader in your life dies. I don't know, like you're 10 years old, you lose your dad at 10. Like that's, and he's an influence on what you ultimately became, that sort of thing. So it's just very fascinating.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase, but like to ultimately grow up, you've got to kill the father.
Yeah, it was more. I mean, that's more of like a medieval way to look at it, I guess.
Yeah.
But I do know a friend of mine said a man doesn't truly become a man until his dad dies.
Same concept.
Yeah, same concept, exactly. So, but yeah, continue. This is interesting.
Yeah. So let's see. Pardon my sloppy notes that I have to now decipher. Yep, we covered that. Mike Dirnt had the worst, and let's see. Billie Joe decided he was going to go to music full-time and started to support himself by selling newspapers. And before he dropped out of school, he was selling $2 joints, which is how he donned the nickname $2 Bill.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's cringe. I'm sorry.
No.
That's like if I could hit a like radio, like back in the radio days where you hit it, but it's like, oh God. that's our cringe alarm going off. Yeah.
Right. The old-timey car horn.
Yeah, that's a cringe alarm.
Let's see. Green Day was initially a song, and one of the members put that name on the back of a jacket, right?
Yeah.
They were like, I thought it was a cool name for a song.
I might have known that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
They did eventually record that song on one of their EPs.
Okay.
Green Day are, as of the podcast that I listen to, the biggest selling punk band of all time.
I could see that.
Right.
Because comparable to Blink-182 or other pop punk ones, like pop punk outfits, we'll call them. Even Blink-182, is quite large, but I mean, then you've got members leaving.
Yep.
Hiatuses, all kinds of shit. I feel like Green Day has always been like working.
Yes.
Maybe that's a big part of it too.
Mike Dirnt had it the worst. His mother was a heroin addict, and he ended up in a foster home after his father had died. Okay. And he his foster parents ended up getting divorced, and he ended up spending some more time with his biological mother, at which point he smoked his first joint at 7 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. Which, then cascade that into reality. So of all of it, he had it the worst. After he graduated high school, he spent time he left home. He spent time living in a van until he started renting out a room at Billie Joe's place.
What age was he? What age did he leave home?
15.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I knew someone that got
before he
emancipated at 16.
Yeah.
But they were actually quite mature because of it. It seemed like he didn't. This friend of mine, this acquaintance from years ago, we'll say.
Sure.
'Cause I don't know where he is. I can't. But he seemed to have his life together at that age because he got emancipated because it was like his mom couldn't take care of him. Probably similar.
Sure.
Except Mike Dirnt didn't get emancipated. He just had no other choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I remember somebody who did that. The one person I know that was emancipated at 16. It was like they had to grow up really fast.
Yes.
Which is an interesting cultural background. But yeah, wow.
So their original drummer, so they ended up recording an EP, went on tour, and the original drummer had already decided he wanted to go to college, so he decided to leave.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
The guy that took his place was his teacher.
Okay. His drum instructor?
His drum instructor.
Okay. All right.
Trey Cool.
Yeah.
Yep. Trey Cool took place. And notably in the podcast, it seems to be that was kind of the hinging point, right? Had they not made that move,
Yeah.
him and his dad were well connected. His dad had the van that they first toured in.
Oh, Trey Cool's
Trey
dad.
Cool's
Yeah,
dad.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
His dad was a Vietnam vet. And it sounds like over the course of the information that he was pretty well put together and knew what he wanted to do and where to go.
Yeah.
And kind of started to make things happen for,
That makes sense.
the ragtag bunch of kids they were.
Sure. Absolutely.
So let's see. 1989, they got back together and they called themselves Green Day. And that's when they changed their name. They were only 17 years old when they recorded that first EP. The EP was 1,000 hours, either 1,000 or 10,000 hours.
Slappy songs or something like that.
Their next EP was in 1990, called Sloppy.
Okay.
And then in 92, they released Kerplunk.
And that was a full length album, right?
Yeah, I think the first two were EPs. Kerplunk was the first full length, and that had the original version of Welcome to Paradise on it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is not on the live album.
I made a mistake. 1990 is when the drummer quit.
Okay, so EPs
So it was before Kerplunk.
EPs were getting churned out, but they didn't make an album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their original drummer was on the EPs, but
Sure.
Trey Cool is on Kerplunk.
Yeah.
So by the time 1994 rolls around with Dookie.
Fluky.
Yeah, right. That album was on the charts for 2 years.
Wow.
And they sold 10 million copies.
That was their big break.
That was it. That was the thing, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So you take that and compound that with their fans. Oh, you sold out. You guys are pieces of shit.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Like, screw you guys. They ended up being alienated, to a certain degree because their support system had fallen out from underneath them.
Right after Dookie and all the extremely.
Right after or shortly thereafter.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought this came way. I'm always wrongfully connecting that whole fuck Green Day and their sellouts with American Idiot. I mean, really, I always wrongfully connected to that, and thereafter.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I thought they were just Green Day and chunking along, and they're on Saturday Night Live and whatever in the '90s and blue hair and pink hair and they were at Woodstock '94.
They were. That was mentioned too.
Yep.
That's when Mike Dirnt lost a few teeth because he ran into a security guard and bashed his face off of a speaker.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ouch. But I those are the years where I don't take that into account. I don't think sellout talk was happening. I know it was the '90s. I know grunge was a big thing, and I know that was underground. And I've watched many a documentary on '90s grunge about why it was, where Sub Pop Records and all those things. And there is a dominating air about that era of the you're a sellout kind of talk.
Yep.
So I guess it makes sense, but Green Day, I didn't peg to be that. And I guess I just don't, I don't know why. I just didn't peg it to be a sellout kind of band,
Yeah.
Not right away, but.
So that's what happened was their support system left them and it kind of came out from underneath them. And so they all got married really young and had their own families at 25.
Sure,
right?
yeah. This is post-Dookie.
This is post-Dookie. And so it seemed over the time that the band had lost traction, and it was thought that they were just going to fade away. After Dookie, they had Nimrod, they had Insomniac, they had Warning.
I loved Warning.
I thought those albums were great.
Yeah.
Right?
Warning is where I was introduced to them.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. And then I went back to Insomniac. Maybe Insomniac. Oh, when you were introduced?
Yeah, I was introduced to, and then I was post-introduced to all the ones before it, Dookie and Kerplunk and the 1,000 Slappy Hours, whatever they called that first one. I have my own stories when I do my part of this podcast about that and how they connect to my life, and all going back to this live album too, and the era of this live album specifically, and American Idiot and all that. But yeah, I was introduced in Warning. That was when that's when I found out what Green Day was.
I did not. I remember, so it was probably one of my first music memories with, my dad having custody of me and my sister and working second shift. We spent time at babysitters' places, and MTV was on all the time.
Yeah, right.
So the first time I heard of Green Day was their video for Basket Case. Right? I'm see, if that was 94, I'm 9.
Okay.
I'm 9, but I vividly remember that video.
Sure,
and that moment.
Yeah.
Can't remember jack shit else about life, but
that moment. Isn't it funny how musical moments, though, and yours in my life, we're very similar in that way.
Very vivid.
They seem to pop out in ways that it's holy crap, we remember this.
Right.
But I can't remember to pick up fucking breadcrumbs at the grocery store.
Yeah. Somebody teach me the circle of fifths already. Maybe I'll remember that.
But I think people have said that. You remember, music unlocks these integral parts of your brain and your mental processing and nostalgia and all that stuff. And breadcrumbs at Woodman's, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. So that was my first introduction to Green Day and Basket Case, right? So then I recognized them on the radio when, I'm being driven around in cars because I'm not old enough to drive at that point in my life, obviously. Yeah. Not sure why that's notable, but the
life and times of Zach Salzman.
Right. And so that was my first introduction. Sure. I didn't start listening to them intently until I think it was Nimrod. Is that what Hitchin' a Ride is on?
Yeah, it's one of those early ones. Let me. I'll look it up. You can keep talking.
I think Hitchin' a Ride is on that one.
I'll be your search boy.
That was thanks. And that's notably my first I'm going to pay attention to these guys. I really love that song.
Nimrod. Yep.
And then I remember waiting for Warning to come out because I saw the single. I saw the video for the first time for Warning, the first single on that album. Waited for that to come out. Was Minority on Warning also?
It was, and that was the first song I was introduced to of Green Day's.
Nice. That's also one of my favorites. And after that, I stopped paying attention to them.
Okay.
I was one of those. My attitude wasn't oh, you guys sold out and fuck you guys.
Yeah.
Again, back at that time, I was very oh, this is all over the radio. I can't hear anything but this. Screw this. I turn it off.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
So you got to keep in mind too. This is kind of an interesting thing as well. You and I aren't that far apart in age.
Yeah.
Just a few years, but you can kind of see how profound age means in many ways. In the profound meaning of age is what I'm trying to say. In high school, around that era, because you would have been out of high school when American Idiot came out. So anything following Warning, right?
American Idiot came out in 2004.
Yeah, and you would have been...
I graduated in 2004.
It came out... Well, I remember it gaining traction in fall of 2004. So you would have already graduated.
Yes, correct.
I was just starting sophomore year.
Sure.
When that came out. So I was not even old enough to drive yet.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to think about
fair.
that. Yeah. That it was kind of a phenomena around American Idiot being what was released closest, and in lieu in this Bullet in a Bible live album that we're talking about today, in lieu of that album, it was closest to an age range where it would have been impactful to me. You know what I mean? And it's interesting to hear, like, you stop paying attention after Warning, and that sort of thing. Because I'm like, well, it's probably large part because maybe if you were a fair weather fan to begin with, or maybe not a fair weather fan, but like your interest was starting to wane in them. Yeah. Now you're not around that high school culture where everybody's trying to dress like Billie Joe Armstrong. Because at my high school, it was. One of my better friends in high school came back to school in fall of 2004, looked like Billie Joe Armstrong. Sure. Red tie, black pants, black shirt, black dyed, kind of shaggy ass hair. Total changeover into what he was trying to be, And
it's funny you say that because that dives right into the next. So I don't have much left on the background leading up to this, but
I'm glad I played a good segue.
Yes, thank you. So it was curious as to whether they were going to fade away. They started to lose traction, and they were saved in 2001 with a co-headlining tour with Blink-182. They played a co-headlining tour with Blink-182, and everybody was blown away about how these old punks could really like rein it in and kick ass, right? So what they did was they spent, if not all, a very good portion of 2002 writing a new album, right? They knew that this had to like take off. The tour with Blink-182 did what it was supposed to. There's all this attention. All the cameras are looking at them. They record this album, and one day they leave the studio and come back, and it's fucking gone.
What?
The entire album is gone, and nobody knows what happened to it. Absolutely.
I am in the dark about all this shit.
Nobody knows what happened to it. They called it the Lost Green Day album.
Weird.
Yeah.
This is 02.
This is 02. Yep, weird. 2002. They recorded an entire album, and they, it had all that energy behind it. It had all the focus of like, we've got to make this great. This is the upswing, right? We're back on the upswing. This is going to be big.
Post tour with Blink-182.
Right, post tour with Blink-182, and the album is just gone.
That is fucking weird.
If anybody knows what happened to it, nobody's talking about it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Crazy. So they had to start over, and they decided that everybody was going to go home and do homework.
Sure.
Right? So everybody took their homework home, and the homework was everybody was going to create 30-second songs.
Okay.
And bring it back tomorrow.
Yeah.
So they did that. Everybody wrote 30-second songs, and lo and behold, these 30-second songs were actually able to flow into each other really well.
I know where this is going.
So they got into the studio, and they recorded Homecoming. Okay, that was the first track that was the result of this homework. Go home, 30-second songs.
Homecoming, yeah.
Bring it back, Homecoming. Song number 2, Jesus of Suburbia.
Yes.
Right?
A 9-minute epic.
Yes.
Oh, do I have stuff to talk about during my portion?
And so, lo and behold, you have American Idiot, released in 2004, the year before Bullet in a Bible was recorded in England.
I feel like I just watched the State of the Union address with someone who is much more lucid.
What the hell are you trying to say?
Seeing as how we're talking about an era where Green Day was getting very political.
Right.
You're like, my friends, that is how we end up here.
I would also like to mention, given the political attention that they're gaining, that they're drawing right now, that their name is like rooted in smoking weed all day.
Oh, I know. Yeah, pretty much. Which is, another whole debate, So very interesting, man. That's a lot of, I didn't know. I'm glad you brought all that because I didn't know that much about Green Day. Like I said, I was introduced to them at Warning, and I'll get into that in a bit. But
I heard this episode previously and knew it was time to revisit given what we were doing.
Yeah.
I know this podcast is meant to review live albums, but I also think it's important to review the time and not necessarily the upbringing, but like the effect that the past had on where this staple, I suppose, is positioned.
Yeah, right? Yeah, absolutely. Because like you said perfectly, it's a snapshot in time. Because on Bullet in the Bible, we don't have, any 21 Guns or anything that was on the other live one they put. It was like Awesome as Fuck or whatever it was called.
Awesome as Fuck is what it was.
Nothing beyond American Idiot is on this because it's a snapshot in time. So absolutely, it absolutely pays to understand where they came from up until whatever album we review, whatever live recording snapshot in time we review, because I didn't know any of that. You know what I mean? Like I knew Jack and Squat, as you say, and Jack Left Town.
Yeah.
Or Jack and Shit and Jack Left Town.
Yep.
About Green Day themselves. The one thing that I can add to your notes that's interesting about Trey Cool, I did not know he was the teacher of the original drummer.
Yeah.
But I do know he has been rewarded, and all our listeners here, especially if there's any drummer listeners, coming from a drummer myself, take this with a grain of salt.
Josh, are you a drummer?
So yeah, some of these take this with a grain of salt. Some of these pseudo awards, I will say, that Modern Drummer magazine and Sick Drummer magazine and Drum with an exclamation part magazine, some of these awards they give out are pretty tongue in cheek in the sense of like, okay, well, who's buying this or who's shilling this. But Trey Cool has won a couple of those awards for being the most solid, consistent to a metronome drummer in any genre.
That's cool. I did not know that.
Now, is punk music incredibly complex? No. Is punk music incredibly difficult? And I'm talking on drums. Is it complex on drums? Not always.
Not always.
Is it difficult? Fuck yeah. I'm not a punk drummer at all. Like, I mean, I played with the Wise Guys, your band, and that was that was probably Green Day-esque, level of intensity, we'll say.
Sure.
But, I mean, I got to play with you guys for a show and a bunch of band practices, and the longevity of it is, I mean, you got to be physically fit.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And to win even a
These aren't
tongue-in-cheek...
shuffle beats, my friend.
Yeah, to even win a tongue-in-cheek, like, modern drummer, itch your back and put you at the spotlight for one issue of the magazine award about being the most consistent drummer in
I was going to say,
their
I don't care what
you know.
name the magazine's got. If the award was being most consistent to a metronome, that's a fucking award.
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
tell you
yeah.
what.
And I know I'm always torn on those, but that one stuck out to me because I like Trey Cool as a drummer.
Yeah.
And I like him because of what he did on American Idiot. And especially Jesus Suburbia, because that's by far one of my favorites from that American Idiot album.
Yes.
Because he's got it down to a science, and you can hear it in the live album recording too of it.
You can.
But what I think I want to do now is we're going to play some tunes for you. Probably not punk. And I hope you've enjoyed our Zach mainly's analysis of Green Day, because I actually learned quite a bit today, and it's phenomenal. I actually have a new outlook on them. But we're going to play some music, and then when we come back, I'm going to dive into how I feel about this live recording, Bullet in a Bible, from 2005. So yeah, you said, yep, 2004 was American Idiot.
Correct.
Following that was Live in Milton Keynes.
Yep.
2005. I'm going to give some insight and some background about the album, but some insight, what I feel about it, right after this on Fuck It, We'll Do It Live. And
sorry to tell that dark story before we pick back up.
And we're back. And boy, are we back with Fuck It, We'll Do It Live. And the episode about, well, mostly it's been Green Day, but we're going to start diving into the live album by them called Bullet in a Bible. Some of my notes, just general trivia notes that I took down for my section of this podcast episode. This album, yes, followed American Idiot, but it wasn't so much just recorded for that. It was recorded because the concert that they were playing at was one of the two biggest concerts they've ever played at, and it was 130,000 people in the United Kingdom at Milton Keynes, where this was recorded. There is a video album, they call it on Wikipedia if you look it up, but it's I would say DVD, Blu-ray, whatever you want to say.
Sure.
Well, it was a DVD back then.
Yep.
Of the live recording as well. And I had noted that I at least seen on Wikipedia, that any of you could Wikipedia, is that the album is 14 songs long and of a 20-song show, and some of the songs that missed out were ones I wouldn't say I'm not familiar with. I didn't listen to that much. Is Jaded, Knowledge, She, Maria, and Homecoming, and it must have been a cover of We Are the Champions.
Oh, they had a cover of that song.
Yeah, so
I'm unfamiliar with that.
So those are the songs they omitted from their set on the album.
On American Idiot?
No, on Bullet in a Bible. Like those they played that, but
were all those songs on American Idiot or
not? No, I think
just a compilation over the time that they didn't play there.
Yeah, they just didn't include those recordings of those specific songs. But yeah, I think only Homecoming wasn't that on. That was on American.
Homecoming
Idiot,
was on American Idiot.
So that was the only one from American Idiot. Everything else that you hear from American Idiot on Bullet in a Bible was there, yeah, and present and accounted for. At that concert, there was also a heat wave going on in the United Kingdom at the time.
No kidding.
And I'm not a mathematician, nor am I good with numbers, period.
Are you sure?
It was 33 degrees Celsius. And what that translates to Fahrenheit, I mean...
You have to double the number, and then there's another...
66.
So you get to 66, and then you've got to add so much.
Okay.
I forget what the number that you have to add is, but you double it. And then...
I'll let you all. You do my searching.
Yeah,
Yep.
You got it.
So it was 33 degrees Celsius, and the point here is that apparently there was a lot of people passing out due to heat stroke during the day of this concert, which, when they were playing, the opening bands were Jimmy Eat World, Taking Back Sunday, and Hard Fi, like Fi, like Hi-Fi except Hard Fi. Never heard of Hard Fi, but Jimmy Eat World and Taking Back Sunday were in their heyday at that point.
Are you sure it was 32 degrees Celsius?
It just says, with temperatures reaching 33 degrees Celsius.
33 degrees Celsius. 32 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit is only 89.6 degrees.
Okay, so it's like
Fahrenheit.
90s. Yeah, I mean...
I suppose it could...
maybe for United Kingdom, is that hot? In June, it was June 18th through the 19th, they must have did a...
Yeah, okay, yeah. So you take... Assumably, on my part, Green Day's headlining this show. Yeah. So Green Day's headlining the show, 90 degrees in the UK, and everybody's been sweating together for probably a few hours now.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing people are going down.
I think we tend to embellish a lot of things nowadays. Like, it was just like we were talking about with the Woodstock episode last. I think there's certain things that get embellished and certain things that deserve to be embellished. And this sounds a little embellished. I mean, 90 degrees. I don't know if the UK hits that a lot. If they don't, I get it. If they're more like Seattle or something where they're always overcast and rainy, I don't know. I've never been to the UK personally. And
I've never been to Washington.
Yeah, and I've never been to Seattle either. I just know that from hearing people say that. So, yeah, apparently it was really hot. Not a big deal. And if you didn't pass out, I guess not really a tragedy.
Right.
But, yeah, it was mainly notable because this album was recorded there because the concert was notable, being one of the two biggest shows they ever played in front of people. And, 130,000 people crammed at the Milton Keynes National Bowl in the United Kingdom, June 18th through the 19th, 2005. So, I've got the set list up a little bit here. The one thing I've noticed all the way through, so let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the first 5 tracks on this album, I think perfectly coincide with the first 5 tracks on American Idiot, as in they did it in exact order. American Idiot, Jesus of Suburbia, Holiday, Are We the Waiting, and then St. Jimmy. I don't know if there was a song in between there on American Idiot that they didn't play. You know what I mean? That is
Right.
seems to be consecutive. And actually, I'm going to look that up because I have their page open. So let me look up and rattle off that again. American Idiot, Jesus of Suburbia, Holiday / Boulevard of Broken Dreams. So they skipped that. That was played towards the end.
that was
so.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, Holiday, Are We the Waiting, and then St. Jimmy. I mean, that's pretty close to the lineup of the album, which they were touring, obviously.
Yes.
Even if you're not a Green Day fan, or even if you're too young to remember this era, they were touring for this live album. They were touring in support of American Idiot, right?
Right.
One thing that I took from listening to this several times over, Bullet in the Bible, is the energy and the flow of not only the concert, but how this live album got mixed together. Like, there's not a lot of banter that doesn't happen during the songs. Like, there's not a lot of banter between the songs.
That's true.
And that doesn't mean it feels rushed, and that doesn't mean it feels, empty. But I usually like banter, as I've said in past episodes,
Yes.
but I definitely liked how this one came together in the way it did, because I feel like it moved really energetically. And you were talking about, during the opening of this podcast episode, you were talking about how before American Idiot came out, they had kind of revitalized their career in a way, you were saying, right?
Yes.
About
Yep.
touring with Blink-182, the energy they
Yep.
had.
2001,
Yeah.
they toured with Blink-182 in a co-headlining tour,
And then tried to make
they
the mysterious album that...
Yep, they made an entire album that disappeared off the face of the earth, as far as anybody knows,
It's
and
Bermuda Triangle's property now.
that's right. That's right.
So that energy, I feel like, not only came out with the album American Idiot, but also especially on this show and this live album, which now, knowing, when I was doing my research, knowing how many people they were playing in front of, I can tell from the way they're playing and how energetic they are and how on point a lot of what they are. Random observation to start. I've grown to... the only other album I can think of off the top of my head, the only other live album I can think off the top of my head that you catch this on is Carnival of Sins by Motley Crue. And it's firework noise. I think Shinedown's live album has it too. That one I can think of too.
Yep.
There's firework explosions in a couple songs, like the end of Jesus of Suburbia, when you get to they're each called something, like you got Jesus of Suburbia, and then I think City of the Damned, and the whole thing has 5 different mini songs in it.
Yes.
I think it's Tales from Another Broken Home, or Tales from a Broken Home is the last one. And it's right when he's like, Tales from Another Broken. And you can hear Trey Cool in the back go, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
And then fireworks go off. So you hear, like, it's not just them starting, it's actual firework explosions. And I like that that's in these albums. Like, I love that live albums don't filter that sort of thing. I love it.
Yes, absolutely.
It was just a little touch that I noticed in the early part. And it's right off the bat in the start of this album and the start of this show. They're already blowing off fireworks. It's probably not even dark out. You know what I mean? They're blowing off stage fireworks. Like, there was some fucking energy there, But I'm going to run through my opinions about it. And then just like when it's, in the next section, when you go through kind of the set, you can do the same.
Yeah, let's get it.
American Idiot, when that song came out, again, I was talking about when we first started this episode, I was 15 and you were just fresh out of high school.
Yep.
I was 15 and I don't want to say impressionable, but I was like, this is a fucking awesome song. I love how they sing it. I love how they play it. It's rebellious. I'm all about that. Like, as a teenager, you know what I mean? Teenager in the early 2000s, rebelling, listening to Green Day's American Idiot. I loved that song. I really did. That brought me into it, and I was like, this is going to be a good... That song made me want to listen to the whole album as a whole. Like, not just, I like that song, and that's all I want. Like, no, I was like, I'm going to listen to this whole album.
Yes.
And at that time, when I was younger, when I was first getting into music, I would do that. And then early high school, I was starting to cherry pick songs. I think that was when iTunes started coming out. Post Napster, post LimeWire, all that.
Right.
iTunes came out, and every once in a while, I'd buy a song on there. And I think that's why I did it, because it was like, you can just buy it one song. You don't have to buy the whole CD, and you don't have to buy a single, or you don't have to do this. So my whole listen to full albums thing was kind of waning for a bit at that moment in my youth. This brought me back into it. And them opening with American Idiot, very cool. Not surprising on a live album for that time. I'm not surprised they opened with American Idiot.
Right.
And then going right into Jesus Suburbia, they knocked this one out. This is easily one of my favorite, more contemporary, more newer, we'll say Green Day, newer since the 2000s, Green Day songs. And they fucking annihilated this song in the best way possible.
They really did.
I love how that one got performed. Trey Cool, going back to that award we were talking about.
Yes.
Again, not everyone listening to this is a drummer, but as a drummer, I'm listening to it, and he nails everything about that song like it's the studio. You know what I mean? Like every fill, every single part of it is
Out of the park.
Instantly. Chef's kiss. I guess that's all I got. Yeah, that's the best I can do with that. I don't like the song Holiday. Never have.
Really?
I shouldn't say I never have. It wasn't bad. That's as far as it ever got in my realm.
I'm surprised.
Really?
A little bit.
You think that because I liked American Idiot that I would like the other? Is it one of those things where it's
No,
that's another
no.
radio
It's just
hit,
that
you know?
it's just that our musical tastes are so similar.
Sure.
Right?
You like it.
I like the song Holiday.
Generally, just no matter if it was the live one or not.
Live or not, yeah, like that song.
I didn't know.
In
I
fact,
would have. I
so-
would have pegged you to not. I would have been.
That's
like,
funny. That's
That's
funny
the
because-
radio song you don't like, probably, or something. You know what I mean?
Right, because at the time when everything was full force, American Idiot came out, and I was just, all that fucking noise, get it out of here. It like Holiday came on, I could not like that song.
Sure. And like I said, I didn't fully hate it, but it wasn't bad, and that's as close as it got for me. I think I probably maybe, so to put in perspective, before Bullet in a Bible, before this live recording and this live album, when American Idiot came out, it was fall of 2004 for me, and I would have been a starting sophomore year. And I feel like I remember throughout those days slowly discovering that I like, after listening to the full album many times, slowly rediscovering how much I liked other songs on it. Not just, it's a good album. Like, okay, now
Right.
my favorite this week is this, and my favorite this one now, I've really got into this song now, like that sort of thing. That's kind of how it evolved for me, that album.
Yeah.
So listening to it live brings back all sorts of nostalgia to that era, because this was around that same time. This would have been summer. This was recorded summer after my sophomore year, and I now had, compared to what I was saying at the start of fall when it came out, this energy and all this stuff in this snapshot in time. Now I've got my first job. I've got my license. I believe I broke up with my first girlfriend at that time. I was single for the summer, that whole thing, 16 and working at a shitty gardening store or whatever.
Living the dream.
Living the teenage dream. All I had was all I needed my money for was concerts and CDs and putting gas in my gas tank. That was maybe drums, any new drum equipment I wanted. Like I said, I remember that song circulating back into my life around the time this would have been recorded, I think. So, when I hear it on here, it does take me back to the time when I did start finding interest in the song Holiday, but it was nowhere near the interest I had in the next one, Are We the Waiting? Oh my Lord. I love that song. How do you feel about that one? Are We the Waiting? Not necessarily on this album, but like in general.
So I've never went back and listened to American Idiot.
Like after all these years?
Yeah.
Really?
I've never gone through and listened to that album.
So listening to the live album, The Bullet in a Bible,
That's my first introduction to the song We Are the Waiting.
Really?
Yep.
That's a good introduction. It's fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's better than the recording.
It's great.
Opinion.
No,
Straight
I
up
love
better.
Great songwriting. Great across the board. I have no complaints about it. I really actually enjoyed that song, the way it plays out over time. I feel like it feels like a throwback song.
Sure.
In terms of style and how they wrote that and the way it's played.
Sure. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I didn't know that. But I think the way I look at the live version of Are We the Waiting, That's a good one to be exposed to for the first time as a live recording on this album, because I like the little trickles you get from Billie Joe Armstrong, where he's like, "Come on!" Like every time, you can hear the sheer echo through the crowd, and
his flair.
Yeah, his flair. Yep. And I have looked up the video record, from the DVD, from the video album, I guess, as Spotify will call it, and it's how I, remember I was talking about this in episode 1. I don't know, like S&M and Mark, Tom, and Travis show. I don't know if I want to see footage from those shows because I have in my mind what it looked like.
Yes.
This fulfilled in my mind what I pictured it looking like.
Did you know? So when you say that, right, it fulfills a certain image in your mind when you listen to it, and you're not sure that you want to see the actual footage of what happened.
Sure.
Are you actually envisioning something, or is that an ethereal like?
Well, I mean, as envisioning as a dream can get, right? Because you don't see things in your dreams. Your mind's eye sees them, and you have an idea of something in your head,
Well, the reason I ask that is, like, if I were to think about constructing a table, and to put it in, like, very basic terms.
Sure, yeah.
Like, I can see, as I'm talking to you, like, I can see how I would put that together and what that looks like. Not everybody can do that.
Really?
Not everybody has the ability to actually
you're right. That
visualize in, as you say, your mind's eye, what that looks like.
Yeah.
When you close your eyes and think of something, you and I might be able to see it. That doesn't happen for everybody.
Yeah, and I mean, I have experience with that in working professionally and owning a business in digital commercial art.
True.
In many ways, is customers don't usually have an idea of how to convey what's in their mind's eye, and it's never going to be right.
Makes a lot of sense.
It never will. It's an impossibility. It's never going to be right. Any future customers that are listening, I'm wrong all the time.
I'm wrong all the time. Get used to being wrong.
But no, you're right. That makes total perfect sense.
Fun fact. Thought I'd share that.
So in my head, I think what I guess to explain it, and explain that kind of concept is like you've got, what Billie Joe Armstrong looks like, what Trey Cool looks like, what Mike Dirnt looks like, what they probably looked like in this era.
Yes.
And what it looks like to be on a giant stage at a festival.
Correct.
And you're kind of, for me, maybe not you, but for me, I'm piecing all those things together in my head.
Yep.
And then hearing them so vividly sing this and him going, "Come on!" Like, I'm picturing, I also know Billie Joe Armstrong's mannerisms when they're playing, and I know Trey Cool's mannerisms, so I can almost picture 90% of it in my head. And so when I looked up the video for Are We the Waiting live at Milton Keynes, it fulfilled it almost to a T. It was scary.
Nice.
It was scary. It was like, I was like, wow, this
is exactly what I thought it looked like.
To kind of wrap it into what you're talking about, this is like an embodiment of that for real. Like, my mind's eye painted exactly what I'm seeing here. It was like deja vu watching that. In real life, you know what I mean? That song, I loved that song on the recording. I love it more. This is easily one that I prefer live, ever since hearing it on this live album. I still like the original, it's fine.
Yeah.
But man, do I like, when I just laying on the couch and I'm like, I want to see some Green Day, like I'll look up the Milton Keynes performance from this and just watch it for the hell of it, just to, especially during the COVID times before we got to start doing fun things again. I need to just remember what concerts used to be like, before all this. But
bring it back a little bit.
And then to wrap up the first 5 that I'm talking about, the whole stretch of American Idiot, you got St. Jimmy.
St. Jimmy, that was fun.
Going back to the first part of today, the sellout talk. I mean, I'm sure there's true blue, I'm a hardcore punk enthusiast saying that's not real punk. Like, I just hear that voice in my head a lot when it comes to Green Day. I don't know why. I'm not in any stretch of the imagination a punk drummer, like I said, or that involved in the punk scene. I have friends that are. They are indisputably like genuine punk rock underground, like around here in Milwaukee, especially in Wisconsin. Still play out. They're approaching 40s, and they play out like they're still teenagers with that same veracity, I guess, or that energy. I'm nothing like them, right? Listening to, I am not even diet punk.
I'm a weasel.
I'm not Dr. Punk
Diet
Pibb.
Punk.
Yeah, I'm not Dr. Punk Pibb to their Dr. Punk
Only
Pepper.
assholes drink Mr. Pibb.
Yeah. I'm not Mr. Punk Pibb in any way, shape, or form. But St. Jimmy to me it was almost like a throwback to their punk days. And I know that's going to cringe everybody's assholes nice and tight that I'm saying that, but that's okay. Especially if those gentlemen are listening. I don't know if they're
Jesus.
listening. I don't know. I should send this to them. They would be a huge fan of listening to this because of you and I. Probably, maybe not the albums we're reviewing all the time, but probably. But so I'm gonna give them a shout out right now because I'm gonna send it to them after this. But they would probably cringe at me saying that, but I feel like it was like a throwback to Green Day's actual punk days. You know, St. Jimmy, because it's fast. It's 4 on the floor. Well, it's like 2-4 on the floor for a drummer talk. But you know, power chords, like it's aggressive, it's fast. But they. Again, it's testament to Tré Cool's drumming. He keeps it in the pocket.
Yes,
during
he does very well
during
the entire album.
A song like that. Whereas you think of like Mark, Tom, and Travis show in Blink-182, Travis Barker's not wrong in his book when he said I was hauling ass through it, and that was what he was hauling fucking ass during some of the songs. Tré Cool doesn't. He get ready for this. Keeps his cool.
Oh, got him.
He keeps his cool. He keeps his cool. That's my soundboard. Thank you. I'm here all week. And until the mortgage is paid off.
Jeez.
But he keeps his cool through that song. He's not speeding through it. So it sounds functionally similar to what he played on the album. But I like that song, but I like it better than Holiday.
All right.
But Holiday isn't a bad song, I just think. Then we start getting to this point in this album, for me, again, this is all just my review. To start, I'm excited to hear yours.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it might be similar, but I think it's probably going to be, there's going to be a lot.
It's going to be different.
Yeah. For me, then we start getting to the long view, hitching a ride. Brain Stew. Every single guy. Okay, I'm gonna jump right down to Brain Stew just to get this out of the way, because this is gonna be like ripping a Band-Aid. Okay, I know you were first exposed to Green Day with Brain Stew, totally fine.
Basket Case.
That's what it was. But I was thinking it was Brain Stew for some reason. That was misspoke. Don't know how you feel about it. Don't care. We'll hear about it later. But I'm jumping onto Brain Stew, and I'm going to throw. I'm gonna go into social justice jail after this. But I'm a punk, right? I am a punk. I'm as punk as they come. Wee. Every jackass that's ever said I play all instruments knows Brain Stew on guitar, and that's about it. That's why I don't like that song. That's the one.
Oh, shit.
That's the one. So Zach and I were talking before we started this podcast this evening, kind of reviewing our notes before we started, and I had said there's very few albums like this live albums like this, because this is one where I don't skip any of the songs as much as I skip other ones, where I'm just, I gotta, as the quote goes, wild hair up my ass to listen to live, like I was using the example, Ice Nine Kills or something like that. Another great live album we're going to talk about eventually. But this one, I could listen to it start to finish, no big deal. But that is the one exception, Brain Stew. It's painfully like the original song. There's no like creativity or any kind of diversion from what it is. I don't, just like Holiday, I don't know that I ever hated it back when I was a kid, when I first heard it. But once I got to high school, once I started learning an instrument, and like having respect for like complexity level of drumming, that song serves a purpose. It's a radio hit.
Yes.
But yeah, it quickly became the Kyle of rock music, I feel like. Very, very quickly, for the time, before Kyles were a thing.
Right.
It to me became that, because I'm not kidding you. It was the jack-offs that are like, I play every instrument. And I call them jack-offs. I call them jack-offs because they are individuals who, it's not like they are genuine about, I play everything, drums, keys, whatever. Like, no, they're the ones that'll put someone down because they don't use double bass or they don't do this because they play every instrument, and then they get behind every instrument and play Brain Stew.
Right.
And I'm like, it's become the bastard of like Kyle musicians.
Music accomplishments.
Yeah, Kyle music accomplishments, we'll call it. And I just can't. White boy can't even.
Damn.
So I'm going to put that one to bed right away. I mean, you'll have your own thoughts about it, but for me, I don't like that song. I didn't hate it when I started, but I can do without that song. I can do without that song forever. I would have much rather have heard, because I'm looking at some of the older ones now. We're in that kind of section from Longview down to right before, down to King for a Day.
Yeah.
And the Shout mix up. we'll say. I could have replaced that. I know they wouldn't have because that was a classic, but I could have replaced that with maybe When I Come Around. I've got some other thoughts that I'm going to conclude my part with in a bit, but something classic right there that wasn't Brain Stew could have been much better. But that's my big that's one big change. Longview. I was introduced to Hitchin' a Ride with this album.
Yeah. Oh, really?
I never heard Hitchin' a Ride.
Are you kidding
Nope,
me?
not at all. I was a Hitchin' a Ride virgin. And I like that one. I like the drumming on that one because it's like a shuffle. Like, it's a genuine shuffle. Yeah, it's not like, oh, he's going to just do that for the intro. And, he kind of does a similar drum intro for Longview, the song before it.
Yeah, similar.
It's that tom-toms, rolling of the tom-toms. But Hitchin' a Ride's got it keeps going back to that, during the verses, and I love that. And I don't know if for some weird reason I love that because it calls back to Johnny Cash kind of we'll say two-step stuff.
Yep.
Or Elvis, and whatnot. Given that I saw that movie now, the Elvis movie. But it's got that kind of shuffle, that genuine shuffle, and Trey Cool. Again, I have mad respect for Trey Cool, and even more so the more I listen to this live album because he's a incredibly underrated, skilled drummer in the specific portion of that genre that they've carved out for themselves.
Yes,
and
I agree.
Every song they play has his wonky character in it, and I like that. So I was introduced to Hitchin' a Ride there. I know you mentioned Nimrod earlier, and it's on that.
Yep.
But no, I did not. I did not get introduced to that. So going further down, they got Basket Case.
Yep.
So that being one of your favorite songs, or the first one that introduced you to them.
Yes.
So do you think they did it justice live on this?
Do I think they did it justice live?
Depending on what your justice feels.
Right. At this point, it's a staple, right? I don't know. So 2004, that song's 10 years old now, right?
Yep.
Well,
no,
years,
earlier than that.
10
This
years
album
old.
is over 10 years.
Right. So at the point it was recorded, it was 10 years old, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying.
Right.
Yep.
So to put it in perspective right now, it's actually almost 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so at the time I'm listening to this live recording of Basket Case, it dives a little bit into perspective. It dives a little bit into expectations, right?
Yeah.
So from maybe one of my favorite bands. Yeah, it's so weird. That's a great question. One of the things I enjoyed about seeing a band like Breaking Benjamin live in the early days was they played Shallow Bay, and the end of the song was just off the rails. They dragged that intro out for like 3 minutes, something I'd never seen before, right?
They get kind of
just really
ambiguous
took the reins and went with it, right? And I was just floored for being there. I was like, this is really cool. Like, you're never going to see this again.
Right, yeah.
Right? I don't know how much more you can expand on Basket Case than what it was.
Sure.
I
see that.
I mean, but is that now, given the question, is that because it's in terms of, and this is in no mean throwing shade in that direction, but is it because that's just a basic punk song and I don't expect any more?
Maybe. You mean like as in doing it justice in your world is going a little off the rails from what I'm
Not to say that it didn't, hit its mark the way it should have, but the fact that I don't expect anything more than what it was because the song, like now
That's
when I'm listening
was,
to it, right? Listening to it now, almost 30 years later, it sounds like Basket Case. It was fun to listen to, and I enjoyed it. I have no qualms about it, but there was nothing that really stood out about it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I think, given those parameters, I think it did justice to, and lived up to what it was. It held energy, and it was a good time listening to it. But is that because this is Green Day and and because it's just, and again, not to demean or take any sort of not to discredit the song by any means, but it's just a basic punk song.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
So there couldn't be any more justice have done to it. You just think they played it well, and that's kind of that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And, and given the structure and the set list and things of that nature, I wouldn't necessarily expect that to be the case for that song, right? If they had picked a song to, say, embellish and or do something more with and to just go off the rails with, I wouldn't have expected to be Basket Case.
Right. I understand. Yeah.
And that, to answer your question, yeah, I think they did the song justice. I enjoyed listening to it, but in frame of the question, I don't know if that's because it's a great staple classic punk song and or maybe because they're not necessarily one of my favorite bands that I wouldn't have expected more from.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I think that's the best I can answer that question.
Sure. No, that's fine. I was just curious if there was anything glaringly obvious where you're like, this was the song that brought me Green Day, and they fucking they just destroyed it or something.
Oh,
or,
no.
Anything like
definitely
that.
Not. I was listening to it. I was listening to it, and as we're going through this, and I'm taking notes and what have you, I'm going back to that moment, right? 9 years old, and he's got, I think, pink hair or some shit or whatever in the video.
Yeah.
And I go back there.
Sure. Very cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, this kind of stretch of classics. I again, King for a Day, also kind of shuffly. I like that. I just don't feel like we had to, they list on this album /Shout. We had to actually give credit to
the song
you
Shout.
Played the song Shout with this also, and it's kind of fun. I again don't hate that song. I don't hate that combo they did.
They have
it's not that exciting to me, I guess, that
in
they did
terms
that.
of a cover and putting it on an album. I think they've got to give credit to it, and if they decided to omit it and not put it on the album, they could have
without it.
Could have done whatever.
They do admittedly go pretty well into that song.
They do.
They play a good chunk of that song. But I guess going back to that, I just don't think they had to do that. Period. I don't know. I'm just not,
I hear you.
It's a shuffle kind of song. It's kind of upbeat. It's 2/4, similar to King for a Day. But I think again, King for a Day reminds me a little bit of Hitchin' a Ride in terms of the drumming, and Shout, some similar stuff there. But I don't know. I just wasn't. I've heard better live bands on their live album do a cover that I'm like, oh, that is hella good, or whatever. And this was they just did it because it's so close to. I was in a band that did something like that with a Blink-182 medley where we picked a song we knew by them.
Yeah.
And then realized, oh, that could go into this song and that could go in, and it just spirals from there. And I just
been there.
I just at some point think but
do you need to?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not big on medleys like that.
What point does it serve purpose?
Yeah, where you're mixing in covers and your original, and then going back to the original at the end, and the song becomes a 9-minute adventure of everything that could possibly sound like it. I also I don't want to say I filled in. I just sat in on a couple songs for a cover band at a friend's or cousin's wedding rather. This was years ago, and they had asked, "Oh, what?" we heard you're a drummer. You want to play, the bar was just my family. No one else was there. It was at the hotel we were staying at. And they're like, oh, you want to play for your family? We'll jam a couple songs with you. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I remember I was like, oh, it's just some simple cover song. I'm Hard to Handle by the Black Crowes. And I was like, oh, do you know any ZZ Top? My dad's a fan. I'm like, I'll do Tush or something like that, right?
Right.
So during a breakdown, the solo in the Black Crowes song, for instance, they started diverting into Crazy Bitch by Buckcherry. Just let's see if you know this one. It's kind of like a crowd thing, right?
Yeah.
And I did. It went great. That my dad to this day talks about this. It was the coolest thing he's ever seen me do. Which is
awesome.
Great.
That's great.
That's a special thing to me. But I still look at that but you start going down those rails and it's I think that just cheapens music for me. And sometimes because I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, we're like drawing strings or like, like tying strings to everything that could possibly be in the same key and the same this and the same, where it's like, I mean, there's probably hundreds of songs like that. But to me, it's like, okay, let's cram a bunch of, like we're going to go into this now because it sounds so vaguely similar. It starts for this, where it's an original song going into a cover. It makes me think they stole it from them. Like Vanilla Ice stealing Under Pressure by Queen level shit. Maybe not that literal.
Right.
But I think that's why I don't get into it. I'm like, I get what they did. It's kind of cute, fun, whatever. But I just personally I don't prefer that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's showing us that, hey, this song I like a lot by you was maybe ripped off by Shout. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that sort of thing. Whereas like, okay, if you're going to play Shout, just play it. You know what I mean? And just separate it. But maybe I'm a little too right angles about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up the rest of this, which is kind of goes into a toggle between, American Idiot, which was new at the time, and old stuff for the last kind of 4 following King for a Day.
Sure.
And then I want to talk a bit about like Green Day, the nostalgia of this era from this live album, and kind of what it means to me. Wake Me Up When September Ends, that's another one where I had heard it the first time the whole album circulated in my life, and then I didn't care, and then all of a sudden it came back out when I was, like, came back in just like holiday. It was all of a sudden like, oh, this is going to be my new favorite song for a while in spring of when this got recorded,
Sure.
around that single summer when I was 16, right? Boulevard of Broken Dreams, though, when that came out, it was like, this is I'm a depressed teenager song. And I liked it for about a month.
Sure.
Like that. And then what officially wrecked it for me was all these years later when it was that guy on YouTube. Don't know his name. Sorry if I don't reference this properly, but he makes the videos of fill in the blank playing this song, but it's a complete shit show.
Yes.
And all I think of is it's like the intro kind of being randomly off key and Billie Joe Armstrong going, Skia!
Yes.
And so he's like, I walk alone, Lee Road. That's about all I think about with that song now. But
So good.
Believe it or not, I don't really hate that song. I know that's got a lot of radio play flack. Just like the fact that all that Wake Me Up When September Ends relates to anymore is memes about Billie Joe Armstrong saying somebody wake up Billie Joe
Yes.
on September 30th or whatever it is. Yeah. But Minority was the song that I was introduced to Green Day to, which is tucked neatly between a slow one like Wake Me Up When September Ends and then another slow one of Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Which I find to be an interesting placement because then the show really comes down after we end on Good Riddance. Love that he does it on an electric guitar.
Yes.
And I love how there's this aura about it that sounds sweaty and tired at the end. And it's like you can tell this was a hell of a concert. And it's just that echo, that like amplifier echo when he's playing it electric. He didn't even bother with an acoustic guitar to try to actually do it like a polished. It's like, nope, we're going to play this. It's like this show has got a lot of energy and it's finally done and we're going to play this. I'm just up here and we're going to play it like this. Almost like an afterthought that I liked. I liked that it was almost like we're going to close with this and I'm out here so you guys are done. Like, I'm good. Like, I got this. Like, I'll just finish it. I loved how that turned out. On that note, this album, the songs on it, not just from American Idiot, that was their album they were touring for on this live album recording, but Minority, even Brain Stew, Basket Case, Good Riddance being the ending. There's so many different things of nostalgia or moments of nostalgia for me with Green Day that were encompassed all in this live album. And the live album itself encompasses a time in my life that I remember getting. It was like a time in my life when getting my license and getting a car and getting my job and being kind of single and learning to be okay with that for the moment. I was 16, right?
Sure.
It was a very pivotal moment where I felt like I had officially survived teenage years.
Oh, okay.
In like teenage puberty and the struggles you feel when you're like an angsty 14-year-old. I felt like when this was recorded.
You stopped being angsty?
What?
You stopped being angsty?
Not really. But, like an emotional teenager where it's like I'm ragey here and I'm sad here and whatever. I felt like this recording specifically, this live album reminds me of the summer that I felt like I had finally graduated from that, and my life for to be a teenager, I would say my life was put together. We'll say at that point,
Yeah.
I felt like I had my shit together for a moment as a teenager, and that I had survived the shitty part of being a teenager. But the kind of nostalgia I have from Green Day is encompassed on this as well, because they seem to have cherry-picked a lot of the songs that started as early as my discovery of music and playing drums and went all the way through first job, first car, I survived the teenage years, and I'm almost to adulthood now.
Holy shit.
Which is a really interesting list that I started, or a really interesting concept that occurred to me while I was listening to this to prepare for this podcast.
Yeah.
Even as early as today, when I was listening to it earlier today. Real quick to run through it even, I think of American Idiot, the song itself, the intro, that time period reminds me vividly of who I was hanging out with that fall of 2004.
Sure.
All that stuff, right? Holiday reminds me of going to the job interview of that first job. Like literally that was on in the car when I was driving down the road, a mile down the road to that first job I had by my parents' house, which was literally walking distance, basically, or bike riding distance, driving down to that. Are We the Waiting? I had a crush on a girl I worked with after breaking it off with my first girlfriend. Can hardly remember her name. I hardly ever got to talk to her, but I remember she liked that song, and it always reminded me of her at that point.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it still to this day does. I can almost smell the garden store when I hear that song. I can think of how it felt. St. Jimmy reminds me of this kind of girl I had a fling with that summer. That was, I guess, super punk, if you will.
Sure.
That sort of thing. We didn't really officially date, but it was, it just reminds me of her. It has no, like the mind's eye talk, like has no connection to her whatsoever. Like she wasn't into Green Day even, I don't think, but she probably would have called me a poser had she found out I had American Idiot or this album, this
even
live
better.
album. Yeah. But it reminds me of her because I picture her in my head when I hear it. Brain Stew. I mean, every kid in my small town would go pick up a guitar and try to play that. You know what I mean? In the music store that I learned drums in. Minority. I was a 6th grader when I discovered that.
Oh.
And the girl that introduced me to that song had a crush on me, and it was not vice versa. It was not reciprocated.
Sure.
I was never the asshole when I was that young, but, we were little kids. We were 12, 13.
Right.
You start discovering that you can go to movies if your parents take you to them, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. But she introduced me to it. And you know how she gave it to me? On a floppy disk.
Wow.
I'm not even going to no one knows what the fuck a floppy disk
Nope.
is anymore.
We're
It
just
doesn't,
gonna move on.
no, it doesn't. She gave it to me on a floppy disk that I literally pulled off on my mom's computer that she must have stole off a Napster. I was fully capable of stealing music at that point. I don't know why I took it from her.
Sure.
But I remember that. I remember she gave it to me on the bus, and she was like, "Oh, it's on here. If you can get it off of here, just plug it into your computer and take it off this." Boulevard of Broken Dreams. I recall that being a big thing. A song like that came out when I was first dating the girl I then said broke up with around the time this live album came out.
Yep.
And that was kind of that was like the climax towards the ending of my shittiest times of my teenage years, because I was just generally not happy. And I think that I connected with that. I think that's why, even though it's a kind of overplayed radio hit, it hit me pretty deep.
Okay.
But the grand finale here of Good Riddance, there was a summer before I started high school where that was the real prequel to the shitty 14 to 16.
Right.
Yeah, and
That song was the foreshadowing of what's to come.
Time of my life.
Oh,
I had the time
twice.
I had the time of my I had the time of my life that summer. I don't know why. I remember that summer. It was summer after 8th grade, 2003. That song was not new at that point, obviously.
Right.
But for some reason, I think we were leaving middle school and some stupid slideshow was playing and they had that song playing on it. And I was like, oh, it's kind of nice. And I remember I liked that song. I'll give it another shot.
There were a lot of schools that used that song.
Oh, yeah. A lot of middle schools in the 2000s and late 90s. And
Yes.
I re-fell in love with that song. And I can, just as vividly as I can remember that girl at Stein's, and all that stuff, which was the garden store I worked at, for reference. I can remember that whole summer, and I remember that was kind of once the summer was over, like I kind of felt like, just like when I heard it at middle school before the summer started, that middle school was over and I was going into high school. Now it was like, okay, that grace period's done. High school starts now, and it's going to be rough. And I can almost tell. And that exhausted sound that he has on this, that like, you can tell it's like, I'm playing this with the electric guitar because I'm not going to wait around to have you bring me an
This is
acoustic
happening now.
Yeah, we're going to do this.
Yep.
It's like singing to my tortured teenage heart going into some of the shittiest times I had in high school, in the first part of high school. And it's very bittersweet.
Yes.
In that way. Green Day has unbelievable nostalgia for me for being a band that I don't listen to religiously all the time. They always seem to have had a song that takes me back to a lot of chunks of of what made me into who I am now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Before I ever turned 18. And I can listen to an album like this where it's literally, Spotify puts it a good way, it lists it as a compilation. It lists it under compilation albums. By
Interesting.
Not under their discography. You have to go all the way to the bottom and you find it under compilations. But it truly is. It's the greatest hits of my age 12 to 16, easily. Sure. Because all of them on there, other than a few maybe, but whatever, all of them on there embody real nostalgia. And this was recorded after I had, it was almost like a revitalization of that summer of 03 where it was like, okay, the shitstorm's about to happen. This album got released after the shitstorm had settled and I was on my way to being an adult. And I think it was weird. It was like a little soundtrack to like, hey, just don't forget where you came from.
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing. And here's us playing it live. And boom, right in the feels. I will say that. So I'm done crying about my bitchy ass life, but that's my take on Bullet in a Bible, and I'm very eager to hear yours. But I'm very eager to get behind these drums and play some Trey Cool level. Hopefully some quality Trey Cool metronome level stuff on this next jam. But yeah, when we return, I can't wait to hear what Zach thinks about this album. Right here.
Coming up next on
Fuck It, We'll Do It Live. welcome back to Fuck It, We'll Do It Live and this very special Green Day Bullet in a Bible edition. So, Zach, we've now heard all my predominantly nostalgic reasoning behind why I actually like this album, but I have no clue why you like this album. Why don't we talk about that, shall we?
Let's give that a spin.
Yeah. So go on through it. Tell me what you like about it, what you dislike about it. And then we'll conclude with what we would change about it, what songs we'd rather hear on it, that sort of thing.
Sure. And okay, yeah, that's a good point to make, because I was going to start off with something like that, but we can reroute that to the end. Sure. I don't think I'm going to spend a whole lot of time actually going through this one.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, forgive me for the mic noises. Had to do some finagling. So, we jumped in depth previously and did a deep dive. And to breeze over some of it, we're in 2005. This is just post American Idiot, right?
Yep.
And we're over in England. When I say we, I mean Green Day.
Yes, just for all our listeners, we're not in England right now.
No, we're
stalking down this album or something like that.
No, we're in Waukesha.
Yes, we're in Waukesha. Go ahead and look that up. Good luck spelling it.
Yeah.
No, but quick note. Yeah, we're in England on this album where Billie Joe Armstrong apparently wants to live now.
Apparently.
But whatever the case.
So, as I had mentioned before, I was a bigger fan of them before American Idiot, right? I started to enjoy them earlier on, and I remember vividly when Warning came out, and that single specifically, right? They released a video with it before the album came out. I was like, cool, like it was something I was anticipating, and I remember that, right?
Sure.
And I remember the song Minority, and after that, I just kind of dropped off the map with them.
Okay,
right?
sure.
And then American Idiot came out, and I think my music tastes had started to go in kind of a different direction.
Yeah.
And mind you, at the same time, I didn't mention this earlier, at the same time, I had really probably worn out Enema of the State.
Okay, so you're more of the Blink-182 variety.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. That's always a debate. Do you like When I was a kid, it was always a debate. Do you like Green Day or do you like Blink-182? At least in my circles, that's
which one do I like more?
Yeah, that was always the debate. Like it was like which one.
Oh, either or.
Yeah.
See, I was in a similar spin, but it was Avenged Sevenfold or Escape the Fate.
Really? That's
no. Sorry, it was Avenged Sevenfold. My mistake. It was Avenged Sevenfold or Atreyu. Those were
okay. That makes more sense.
Those are swappable.
I'm like that. I'm like, all right.
That doesn't make sense.
I guess
Maybe.
Felt like the girl from Hot Tub Time Machine. That sometimes is a good thing.
No, I do enjoy both Green Day and Blink, but I tell you hands down that if I had to pick one, all day, every day, it's Blink.
Okay, sure. Yeah, they have a lot more. Seemingly, they have a lot more. What would you call it? Pop, like I don't know, like radio friendly hits maybe, or something, or like some kind of approachability. You know,
yeah,
that sort of
thing. So. And that's funny. So we're getting into it at that point in time. They opened up with American Idiot. Great song. Great live version. Great opening to the, that's the title track essentially for what they're touring.
Yep.
So big opening. Loved it. It was great. Jesus of Suburbia. Fantastic, right? I do enjoy that song. Again, when they came out with this album, I started to go in a different direction, and I was probably in the, that's played on the radio all the time. I don't care about that.
Sure, yeah.
So I think to this day, I may have never actually listened to the entire American Idiot album, if I'm being honest.
I think I did. The last time I probably did was in high school, because I liked about all the way through all the way through the middle of it, and then I didn't. I mean, then you had Wake Me Up When September Ends and all that shit. So
yeah,
I didn't really get into that.
Because I've got to apologize, because I'm certain Billie Joe Armstrong is probably listening to this. I gave him so much shit during. I gave him so much shit during the Wake Me Up When September Ends era of that album.
Oh boy,
so much. I was like, I'm not going to go down that road, but like I was also like fresh out of high school,
Sure.
and obviously I knew everything at that point in my life. So why
I had it all figured
I
out.
had it all figured out. I don't know why I wouldn't have done those things. Anyway, so with this album, this is probably the first time I've actually heard Jesus of Suburbia all the way through.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, great song.
Holy
Love it.
shit.
It's fantastic.
That's one of my favorites, like I was talking about. So I definitely.
Or at least the first time I've noticed that this is the song, that's the album it came from, and
Sure,
and what
yeah.
have you.
Yeah.
Right. Then we get into Holiday. Enjoy that song. Love that song.
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of my favorites from that album.
Sure. Do you still like that song?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
All right.
There's a certain
You surprise me all the time.
there's a certain for lack of better terms, there's a certain spunk to it that I
Sure.
really really get behind.
It's the rhythm, I think.
I think so.
It's
The
that
syncopation.
2/4,
Yep.
like kind of upbeat thing. No, I was saying you surprise me all the time because being my bandmate, but also of the individuals in my life who are as into music as you are and myself am, whatever. Most of those individuals are very, very condescending about radio hits, Five Finger Death Punch, which I know you share that same sentiment. We'll eventually cover their live
Who are
album.
they?
That'll be a
I don't
confusing time.
understand.
But then you kind of pop up with, you know what I like? Goo Goo Dolls. You know what I like? Holiday by Green Day. And I'm like, that just shocks me because I'm always like, well, okay, all right, fair enough.
It's a new world every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, still enjoy that song, Holiday, and I think I know why it might seem that way is because around the time this album came out, this was well before streaming. This was well before YouTube culture, well
Yep.
before all of those things. I specifically stopped listening to the radio.
Okay.
Like I nope, no more radio for me.
You know, I didn't stop at this time, but I will agree with you in the sense that
Except for
think-
morning shows, I should mention.
Yeah, morning shows. I got into that more so when I was in college because I was driving to college, so I had something to listen to. And if it wasn't music on the way there, it was a radio show,
Right.
like the morning shows. I didn't like the radio, but I didn't stop listening to it, we'll say.
Yeah, I got sick of the certain local radio stations playing the same song.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. We don't want to piss off our potential partners.
Yeah, I'm sure they're sitting right next to Billie Joe Armstrong listening.
Yeah, they're all like in a basement.
Just like we are.
Just tuning in to fuck it, we'll do it live going, these fucking assholes.
So, then next, Are We the Waiting?
Yeah.
I enjoy that song. I like the beat. I like the way it progresses across. It gives me this very oldies feel, and I'm sure in my eyes, I feel like that was done intentionally.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't hear that too often.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, would you call that a shuffle beat? Is that what that is?
Are We the Waiting?
Yeah.
No, that's like that anthematic one you're talking about where it's like do, tch,
Yeah.
do. I would just call it an anthematic beat. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's like a stadium rock thing. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Yeah. Shuffle beat is like
Oh yeah,
that's like Holiday.
Definitely
yeah.
not a shuffle beat.
Yeah. No, it's like anthematic, I would say. Almost like 80s rock, we'll say. Like the common cliche 80s rock thing. But I mean that's oldies.
Yeah.
now. So
Right.
you're not wrong in that classification. But yeah. I was saying during my part, I like the anthematic nature of it too.
Yeah, me too.
And you
it gave me-
you had said you never heard it before.
Nope. No.
That's just astounding to me.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one. St. Jimmy, I enjoyed that one as well.
St. Jimmy seems like one that would have been up your alley.
Oh, it definitely
If I'm
was.
being stereotypical.
What'd you say about how I look? Then after that, you've got the bangers, right? You've got Longview.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, they've been playing it for years. It wasn't better than I expected, but I wasn't asking for much
Sure,
with that
yeah,
being on the list, you know. Hitchin' a Ride, probably my favorite Green Day song. I think I've mentioned this.
Yeah, and like I was saying during my part, it's all the drums for me that I like about that one. You know, like it's such a it's such a cool drum part to
Yes.
me. Yeah.
I remember when that song came out, and I really enjoyed the video they released for that song. It was very old timey.
I'll have to look that up. I don't think I've ever seen it.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
I don't. Honest to goodness, I don't know that I've ever seen a lot of Green Day music videos. I know American Idiot. Remember that? Remember the where they
Which
were
one
playing.
was American Idiot for?
It almost looked like a. It looked like a airplane hangar. It was almost similar to the song "The Pretender" by Foo Fighters. Yeah, they're in kind of like an airplane hangar or something like that. But I remember a big American flag, and then I remember a bunch of slime or a bunch of green, shit coming out because they're Green Day.
Yeah, right.
I remember that. I can kind of remember, was it the one from the 90s where they all had colored hair and shit?
Basket Case.
No, not it was, oh, Jesus. Yeah, Basket Case. Yep. I remember that music video. That's about it. I don't even remember like Boulevard of Broken Dreams, none of those. I don't remember any of those music videos. Yeah. Okay. And I don't know if I was just not watching MTV at that point, and that was like, if they were going to play music videos, it was on in the middle of the night or something.
Yeah.
I remember just like you stopped with the radio, I stopped with MTV around this time.
Sure.
Because there was the reality show to music video ratio was starting to piss me off.
They were starting to lose.
And I was starting to dislike the programming, and I started shifting over to, what was that, MTV2 was a thing. But also Fuse TV on digital
TV.
Cable. Oh my God, it was so amazing. Digital cable.
Much music.
Much music, yeah. Just like we talked about in other episodes too. And they weren't playing stuff like that was super new. I feel like they were playing like the off-brand stuff that, like Papa Roach and like whatever. So I was still seeing music videos by them or
SR71.
Yeah, SR7. Yeah, I wasn't seeing Green Day Boulevard of Broken Dreams. You know what I mean? Or that sort of thing. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, I never saw that music video. I'll have to look it up. Hitching a Ride. Right?
Yeah, you should check it out. I'll leave it at that. I like that.
Okay.
I like that music video.
Okay.
Hitching a Ride. So and then we've got Brain Stew, Basket Case. Like the classic staples that, they've got to include those.
Did you, maybe I referenced King for a Day. I never knew that song either. But remember, we established earlier in this episode, I didn't really discover Green Day until Warning.
Yes.
Pretty much. Because I would have been in 6th grade or 5th grade, somewhere in there when that came out. So that's an older one, right?
Yeah, it's an older one. I'm not a big fan.
Yeah.
It was good.
What do you think about that combo with Shout?
Could have done without it.
Sure.
Could have done without it.
Yeah.
I think. How can I illustrate my thoughts? I don't know. I've never been to a Green Day show. I've never seen them live, right?
Okay,
so I don't know what the expectation there is, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe the entire crowd is just begging and hoping for King for a Day. I really don't know.
Sure.
So maybe there's a certain piece there, or maybe they just really enjoy playing it.
It did sound energetic.
Yeah.
I was giving it that, I think.
I did like the transition into Shout. That was done well. I think they did it well, and I think it was exciting for the crowd. It sounded like it was anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I could have done without it.
Sure.
And then Wake Me Up When September Ends.
It's not September yet, Billy. You can keep sleeping.
Yeah. It's a good song. Not my cup of tea.
Yeah. You know what stands out to me now that since we've been doing this episode today and in between our jams and everything like that is, I don't know if you noticed that he fucks up singing at one point. It's like summer.
Yeah. No, I did catch that.
But there's that little sprinkle of authenticity of the fact that he's actually performing
it, right?
I like about live albums, and I always do. I'm always gonna, even if it's bullshit and even if it's something that doesn't sound great, I'm like, but he's really performing this, and it's a real snapshot in time in front of real people who are living at that point.
Oh yeah.
So I just always notice that about that's the first thing that sticks out to me in that song on this album.
Yeah, I'm for it.
Yeah.
I'm for it. So, I mean, given this tour cycle and the list of songs on here, like there's no way that they weren't not going to play. Enjoy all those double negatives.
Sure.
Wake me up when September.
We weren't
ends.
not gonna not do
Not
that.
going to do what now? And then there was Minority.
Yeah.
I think I'd call that a close second for my favorite Green Day song.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so good, so good. The reason I asked about the video for American Idiot is because I wasn't sure if I was mixing that up with my memory of the video for Minority.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
I like that video too.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the album ended there.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
Great performance. I really enjoyed the energy behind it, and again, there's the nostalgia and everything involved. And like you stated, you can tell that they're doing it live. There's certain hints in that song that give that live feel to it.
Yeah.
And then from there, you go to Boulevard of Broken Dreams and Good Riddance. Again, given the tour cycle, who they are, and the status of the songs, there's no way they're not going to play those songs.
Yeah.
Wasn't, again, a big fan at the time of that album. Or, well, I should say mainstream music at that point in time.
Sure. Gotcha.
Right. So avoided Boulevard of Broken Dreams, American Idiot,
Yeah.
and
At the time.
At
you
the
didn't-
time,
You didn't
at the
like
time,
any
right.
of that. Yeah.
I think Boulevard of Broken Dreams is a good song, right? Along with Good Riddance. That I think there's, in terms of that song, probably. I would be curious to know if that's the biggest song they've ever had. Like
Which one was it again?
Good Riddance.
Good Riddance. Yeah.
Yeah. Other bands have covered that song.
It's a
it's
noticeable
cycled.
cliche song.
Yeah, I know.
And I don't mean to say cliche. Like, I know I pointed out when I was talking about my feeling of this, like, I love the live version of this because he just stuck to the electric guitar.
Yes.
You know how I was saying
Yep.
that? Taking the live version out of the equation for a second, that song, I don't want to use the word cliche, but it is. It's the fucking graduation song. It's the...
Exactly.
It's
and that's where I was going to go with it, too, because I remember I... a little bit older than a friend of mine, I went to his graduation, and it was early 2000. Like the song had probably been 10 years old at this point, and I was like, I was like, what?
I remember this too. So I had all my nostalgic points during my part, but one thing that popped in my head while we were jamming the last song was the first time I ever heard that song, though, like. Heard it, not heard it in the way that I was talking about where it was like ending my 8th grade year and going into a summer that I really enjoyed, like I was talking about.
Yep.
It was actually, we used to have, when I was a little kid, probably in grade school, we used to have this like above ground tank pool. It was a smaller one. My parents eventually got a big legit pool, but they had a smaller like little kid tank pool that we'd swim in. You know, you
Sure.
fill it with a garden hose, right?
Yep.
And it was about probably 2.5, 3 feet deep. So my cousin, like we lived around my whole family, those same cousins I was talking about during the Goo Goo Dolls episode where
Yep.
they were all into the 90s, they exposed me to music, all that stuff. One of them, she came down, and the day, it was just, she came down and swam with us, and she was just sitting in the pool, and she kept singing the chorus. She kept singing, something unpredictable, but in the end is right. And I was like, that song is so dumb. like, because I was an 8-year-old or 7-year-old or whatever. I was like, it's a stupid song. It sounds so boring. And that was the first time I heard it, was karaoke from my cousin in the swimming pool.
Oh, that's so funny.
I didn't know who the fuck sang it. I mean,
Right.
I was just a kid going, this song is fucking stupid.
Sounds dumb.
But at the time, I was like, this song is bogus. I don't know why. I thought it was-
And you used the word bogus.
and then, like I was kind of referencing earlier on in this episode, then when I really heard it and really listened to it
sure.
closely, it was when I was going into high school, right before that summer. I had said, because this was such a nostalgic time
then it got
period.
you in the feels?
Yeah, it got me in the feels as a teenager because of all that stuff I was talking about during my part. But you know, all the nostalgic rundown I went of this album and this time period of Green Day. You know, but yeah, you're right. Arguably, it's easily their most known song.
Yes.
Because it's just like any other song that becomes a jingle, that becomes a a song in a commercial like that. I'm trying to think of one that compares to it. You know, like that has that same everybody used it for everything in this type of environment or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, to bring it back to another episode, I do have a similar example, but not exactly the same. It was like when the cover of Little Bit got used in every grocery store you've ever been in.
Yeah.
Right? It's similar to that.
Yeah. And that became a lot of wedding songs too and
Yep.
stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the way I look at it. So Good Ritten's not a wedding song, but think of, you know, the
Are you sure?
cliche, right? Good Riddance. Hopefully not.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a funny story, but let me finish this thought. This will be a funny story, a little bit off topic while we transition into the what will we change about this album. But needless to say, you know, you think about wedding songs. I think that's today's like what happened to the song "Time of Your Life" by Green Day. Is you think about wedding songs. These people that like, you know, go into their, you know, like, oh, I need to whatever you call it, you know, have a country song for my wedding song. It's always like nowadays it's like something from the band Dan and Shay or something like that. You know, where
Right.
it's like everything is always everybody and their brother has the same wedding song when you Ed Sheeran's song. That's what it was. It was the one he did. It was like another version of it where he did a duet with Beyonce. And it was like the most cliche fucking. It was like Thinking Out Loud, I think was the song.
Okay.
It was like everybody had as their fucking wedding song. Every commercial it had anything to do with like romantic, buying jewelry, anything had fucking, you know, Ed Sheeran's song in it. That's what this reminds me of, except in terms of graduations, quitting your job, retiring, whatever, like, anything like that.
I'm going to level with you.
Yeah.
I've only heard one Ed Sheeran song.
In your life?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware. And that's the one that he did with, brain, don't fail me now.
I couldn't even tell you. The one with Bring Me the Horizon. Yeah.
There it is, yeah.
That I believe that's his song. And I believe that they collaborated. Yeah, they collaborated he brought them in to do that because they're European. And so is he. I can't remember exactly where they're all from, but I think they're from the same city or country or what have you. There was a reason they collaborated on that. I don't remember why. But yeah, it was called Bad Habits.
Yep, it's called Bad Habits.
There is a cover of that one that has nothing to do with Ed Sheeran or Bring Me the Horizon with a chick singer, a girl lead singer, and it's phenomenal. And my wife loves it.
Sweet.
You'll have to ask her later.
Yeah.
But real quick, my hilarious wedding song story.
Get it.
It was an old friend of mine who's now moved away. But he used to really like the prototypical songs from the early to mid 2000s, like the one hit wonders like Tantric and Default and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And one time he's like, can you imagine if somebody like wanted their wedding song to be the song "Wasting My Time" by Default? Wasting my time.
Oh, there was
a commercial I think that spoofed that.
Oh, no kidding.
So I don't think
funny.
in hindsight it wasn't his original comedic idea, but so
yeah.
good riddance could be a
Man,
wedding song.
you were really stirring some shit up there. Default and
Tantric.
Tantric.
Too bad they don't have some live albums. I don't think they have enough
do.
material. Default has a live album?
No, Tantric.
Oh, Tantric?
I think so.
I'm gonna look that.
Yeah, look that up. I think they do.
I didn't think they had enough music for a live album.
They do. When do you think they stopped?
Fuck, I don't know. You know what song I remember by them?
They're still a band.
Here's two songs I remember by them.
No.
Breakdown
Stop
and
what you're saying
Morning.
right now.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Get out of here. That poor group of individuals. So are you aware of the starting point of that?
I feel like you're gonna make me aware of the story.
Yeah, you
take your tantric very seriously.
You're about to get educated, and I don't know if saying
I'm
that's
gonna
a
jam
good
this
thing.
information into your brainus.
Oh man! All right, so
Okay. Class is in session, ladies and gentlemen.
Husa.
Better be taking some notes on this shit.
That wouldn't have been the first time I would have said that today. Do you know where the band Tantric came from?
I don't know.
No.
You mean locationally?
No,
or?
not locationally. The origin.
No, I
the
don't.
origin
I
of
don't
that band.
actually know.
All right. Do you remember the band Days of the New?
I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Love
Same
that
lead
band.
singer. Was that what we're getting at? Same lead singer from Days of the New is in Tantric.
No. Nope.
Okay.
Swap the scenario.
If you guys can't tell, I like guessing games.
Yes. No. Swap that scenario.
Okay. Band.
Tantric is Days of the New with a different lead singer.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And eventually, I think they ended up doing. I may be incorrect, but I think they ended up doing 2 or 3 albums with that entire group, and things went to the wayside. And Hugo, the singer of Tantric, is still the singer of Tantric.
Okay.
But he's got a different group of circus carnies writing music for him now.
Circus carnies.
I don't know how to tell you. I don't know how better to explain
You
it.
got Toothless Jim back on the drums.
Yeah.
You got the really bendy girl on bass.
No, she's the drummer.
Fucking
She's the drummer, yeah.
Fucking Stretch Armstrong is playing drums. What about the eye-popping guy? I mean, I'm picturing like this like real like general like middle range rock, and it's like you got a fucking freak show on stage.
Yeah, they
Okay.
that was Days of the New.
I'll look that
Days
up.
of the New had a their singer, I believe, had a very bad meth problem.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. He had a drug problem, so
Well, it was the 90s,
obviously things went well there, and then Tantric was created.
Maybe it's because they needed to woo-saw some shit out of their system, probably.
Right.
Yeah, that's sad, but it was the 90s, you know, the days of the new guy. You know, I mean, I think they were in the 90s,
Yeah,
right?
they were in the 90s,
Yeah.
late 90s.
So, I mean, that kind of answers that. I mean, that was the scene.
Yep.
You know, like grunge and post-grunge, and as you got into, like, new metal and stuff, I mean, it's kind of mishmash of drug abuse. And, you know, not always healthy, but it breeds some interesting and memorable music, but it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's like your body becomes the art, you know, where it's like, I'm going to beat the shit out of myself to make some like stuff that eventually people will like a lot because it was very, very sad or something.
Right.
Interesting.
Just
how the fuck did we get to Tantric?
yeah. Now that we've concluded this rabbit hole, let's bring it back to Green Day.
Holy Lord. All right. So my question for you, because I've got some thoughts to this.
Yeah.
Looking at this as a live album, what songs would you change? What would you change about it? What would you take off? What songs would you put on? What would you rather have had them play?
So I don't know that I would have done it any differently.
Okay.
Another moment in time, absolutely. I'd switch that motherfucker up like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? Given that time, there from a mindful, purposeful standpoint of giving the crowd what they want and promoting the best work we've ever done. And when I say we, I mean Green Day.
Yeah.
Right. And promoting and doing the best work that we've ever done to, you know, climb this mountain. Now, remember, there's an entire lost album somewhere.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. That was not going to be American Idiot.
Yeah, that was not going to be American Idiot.
Yep.
To climb that mountain and get there, I don't know. I would have changed anything. I think, personally, there's an easy go-to. I certainly would have swapped out King for a Day for.
Something else.
For something else, right? Could have been anything else. Nothing specific. That was the only thing for me that, now again, in the context of that time, that tour, that album, right? Mm-hmm. I'd certainly swap other songs out from that album too, right?
Yeah.
To like give it being a different time. Not the case. But with this structure, I would have swapped out King for a Day and Shout for something else. I'm trying to considering this was a big turning point for them, it's hard to pinpoint really what would have been a good fit.
Sure,
right?
sure.
That's why they kept the Brain Stew. That's why they kept
Right.
those certain staples, because those are the ones that made it this far,
Yeah,
right?
Right.
So it's hard to pinpoint like Warning might not have fit. I think I would have enjoyed that, but again,
Remember that one.
right? But 2004 or 2005, right after American Idiot.
Yeah.
Don't know if anybody would have given a shit.
Sure.
Right. Don't know if it would have fit well in the set. There's a bunch of variables when it comes to that.
Sure.
But I would have swapped out King for a Day for something else. If it was another time entirely, truth be told, I got back into Green Day after 21st Century Breakdown and loved a number of songs off that album. Like
Sure.
That's probably my favorite album by those guys.
They do have a live album that that followed that.
Yeah, it was called Awesome as Fuck, and they didn't
Yeah.
include any of those songs on that either.
Jesus. Fuck you, Billie Joe Armstrong. I'm sorry. Oh, no, I feel like that was a moment where you're going up to a meet and greet and your body just fails you. You're like, fuck you, Jimmy, Billy Joe. Oh my God.
Cyrus, is that what you're gonna say?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, where you're just like you're gonna meet one of your idols and you're just like, you don't know what else. You're just like, fuck you. Why did I just do that?
No, I would have
Yeah.
easily have swapped that song and a number of other songs on this album for songs off of that one.
Sure.
And again, they weren't included in, I believe the album you're referencing is Awesome as Fuck.
Yeah, yes, I am. Yep.
Like, really enjoyed Peacemaker off of that one. There's a number of songs off of that album that really, I don't know, there's something about the, how can I say that? I find myself enjoying the second installment much better than the first one. The first one is a staple. The first one, like, this could be, I'm speaking in terms of, say, albums, right?
Yeah, sure.
Album number 1 got you there.
Yeah.
Right? Album number 2 is more refined. It's the same almost raw energy in most cases.
Sure.
But a little bit more refined, right? Sticks were good tools until we could, forge iron and put a blade on it.
Right.
Right. And so I felt like I was analyzing this on the way here, that it's almost the same structure, same methods. Not that they were necessarily strictly trying to repeat it,
Sure.
but they did, in my opinion, a much better job with this installment than I felt they did with American Idiot. Or at least it resonated that much more with me, that I enjoyed that one much more.
Sure.
Even to this day, I think it's probably my favorite Green Day album.
Nice. Yeah. So you're right. For me too, I wouldn't change anything about this because of that snapshot in time.
Right.
The only thing I would add in, and arguably it's not probably their most popular song off the album, I just connected with it, and I know I was talking to you about this before we did this episode. It was the song "Give Me Novocaine," which was on American Idiot.
Yep.
It follows Saint Jimmy, so every time I hear him on this live
learn new
album,
things every day.
Yeah, every time on this live album, Billie Joe Armstrong goes, "And don't you fucking wear it out." Burn, 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 burn. I'm praying that I hear that awesome drum beat of and it never comes. It never happens.
Never happens.
Because they did, they go right into what's after that on this Longview.
Yes.
Which is fine. Again, it's a staple, but I really wish we would have worked in Give Me Novocaine. I really wish that song would have been considered a hit. It is very, very meaningful. I know that it likely has nothing to do with my life, what I mean, in terms of the lyrics and everything, but at the time, this has been a very nostalgic episode for me. I'm going to shed another tear. No, but at the time when I heard that song, yet another transition was happening in my life. It was similar to the ones I was talking about when I remember Holiday, and I remember, Are We the Waiting? And that's when I said, oh yeah, I got my license, got my first job, got out of the first long-term relationship I was in, and that was like the, kind of the next phase of my life. And all this, like between summer before freshman year all the way through this live album, it was like a lot of changes in my life, is what I was saying. Give Me Novocaine was up there too, and it felt like that was a missing piece out of this for my nostalgia. It would have made it perfect, because a lot of these songs all kind of resonated with me over, like Minority being when I was in 6th grade and all that. It's like I was saying, I was so nostalgic with a lot of these songs with Green Day. They became so nostalgic to me. Give Me Novocaine was definitely one. I actually had an English class in high school at the time when that album, when both American Idiot was popular and also this had just come out. And it was bring in a verse or a chorus from a song that you like, and we're going to talk about, because it was kind of almost like a poetry section we were talking about. And it was like, lyrics can be poetry, so bring in on CD at the time, and we'll play it in the classroom boombox. Again, no one knows that. We're going to might as well rename this podcast the Boombox Information Channel.
I love it.
But I brought in Give Me Novocaine because I said, I was like, I think that I was finishing sophomore year. It was halfway through high school. And I think I remember explaining to the class at least as well as my brain can remember now at this age. But I remember explaining that I thought the lyrics kind of demonstrated to me kind of like a change is painful and change is scary, and like sometimes you just gotta muscle through it. Muscling through it, in this case, the lyrics are kind of singing that, like, just give me Novocaine, I'll get through it, like that sort of thing. So I really wish, for whatever reason, that would have been considered a hit enough for it to be on this album, for them to play it live. I think, let me real quick, before we kind of wrap this up, let me real quick look up the wiki about this again, because I'm fairly certain there were 2 or 3 songs they played at this show that were not included on the live album.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so
go
give
for
me
it.
a second.
Not a problem. There's something I was going to mention that...
Zach's going to tell jokes while I do this.
Oh. What part of my life do you want to hear about?
Your sex life.
What's that?
Let's see. I saw it somewhere when we were commercial performance. I saw it somewhere when I was doing the research on this one. I'll have to background. It was right at the end of this, I think. Oh no, it just said
Please stand by.
Green Day have released most of their videos from this concert on their YouTube page, except Boulevard of Broken Dreams, Wake Me Up When September Ends, and the other songs which have been omitted from the album release.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, here it was.
Ooh.
14 of the 20 songs were performed at these shows were included on this disc. Missing out were the tracks Jaded, Knowledge, She, Maria, Homecoming, which was on American Idiot. That was towards the end of it. Yeah.
Okay.
And We Are the Champions, I'm guessing, was a cover of the Queen song. So that was 5 of them. That means there's one that that would have been one left that I don't know what else they omitted. But
well, that was a mistake.
yeah, I mean, that was just some of the ones they kind of they just omitted them from the live album. And I know that happens. We haven't talked about that much yet on this. We only have 5 episodes in on this Probably Till the Day We Die podcast.
Yeah.
But I guess I haven't really thought about that too. Like, I don't see much research behind some of these albums we look at in terms of what have they omitted. Last episode, when we were talking Woodstock 99 and all the flurry of the documentary and all that stuff,
Fucking rainbow.
Yeah, look at that fucking rainbow, man. I did uncover and saw that all those performers I was talking about that were at Woodstock that they never put on the album.
Yeah.
Zach's personal favorite being Insane Clown Posse. I know how you like to get drenched in Faygo.
That's happened once in my life.
Oh, I hope it wasn't at a concert.
It was.
It was?
Yeah,
You saw them?
I've seen them live.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I also enjoy their song "Zombie Slide."
Okay. Yeah.
Fun facts.
I had a couple friends into that band.
Yeah.
If you want to call them that. I had a boss that was really into them, and he went to the concert. It was my high school job. But neither here nor there. Yeah, I guess we don't really think about that, the songs they might have cut out of stuff. Like, for instance, I know I want to do eventually the live Newfound Glory album.
Okay.
Kill It Live, I think is what they called it.
Good name.
I think it was that, yeah. I have it. I just don't remember the name exactly. But they omitted Head On Collision, which made me really sad because we'll get into that on that episode. But they omitted it. And I'll save it for that.
Yeah, save it for that.
But yeah, I don't consider that sometimes. I'm like, well, they might have cut stuff out that we wish we would have heard, or they might have not played it well, or who knows what,
Right.
But we do know this album was in one sitting, so to speak. It was one event, and it wasn't a live album that has been constructed over 3 or 4 shows to get the best takes of everything. Which, before we conclude, I've discovered in doing research and listening to this live album that I love all live albums. I collect them all, but I don't like that. I don't like it when I hear a singer, say hello to, Nashville, Tennessee, and then 3 songs in, it's like I can tell this is Las Vegas because blah blah blah. Like, it takes me out of it because then I know the picture in my head is not the concert at one place anymore.
Right.
Now it's just a overthought process of this isn't an authentic live album. This is a compilation, but I still like it. I just like stuff like what Green Day did with this much more, where it's a whole show.
Yeah.
the whole show. You feel like you were there, and you can feel the energy of the crowd, and you can tell they're really getting into it. So that's just what I like about it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you've never heard of this album, we pity you because it's quite good. But go check it out. Go check out. It's crispy. Go check it out. Bullet in a Bible by Green Day. It's from circa 2005. Did we determine?
Circa 2005.
Yep.
Post-American Idiot.
Post-American Idiot on that tour cycle. But this is Brad, and that's Zach.
Hi.
That you don't know. You don't even know which way I'm nodding my head right now.
They couldn't even see me
You
wave.
couldn't even, like, whatever. But this was another exciting episode of Fuck It, We'll Do It Live.